Welcome to Nice and Blunt, everyone. It's my fucking birthday today. It's a nice day. Feeling good. Happy to be alive. It's been a good year, and just want to say thank you to everyone who watches the channel. Really appreciate all the viewers, everyone in the audience, and yeah, it's been a good time this season. I really appreciate everyone. It's been a good birthday present to make it this far, and yeah, just wanted to say that. Anyways, today we're going to go through some waiver wire pickups as well as I'll rank the position. I will be changing the rankings. Don't hold me to the Tuesday rankings for the end of the week. But last week I felt like my scheduling wasn't ideal. I felt like I would have liked to have some content and rankings out earlier last week in hindsight. So we're going to do that today. I'll be updating them every single day because the schedule's weird. And yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. But we got Ashby in here. Thank you very much, man. Appreciate it. Very thankful for everyone. Zach, also, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Scott, always nice to see you. Welcome back in here. And yeah, man. Thanks. It's always a little odd to have a birthday. Maybe just for me, because my birthday is like so close to Christmas and it's like a little bit strange. But yeah, it's always a good day. Anyways, let's hop in. Let's talk about some rankings. We're gonna start at running back and just run through the gauntlet, and then I will tell you based on like rostership who I think is like the most desirable acquisition you can get. So let's go through running back just quickly, not too crazy. Like the top five are pretty fucking obvious. Like Bijan against who's get the Rams this week. That'll probably crush in prime time. McCaffrey's always in your lineup, so is Gibbs. Cook's going to be dominant. Against Saquon in the snow, that should be a fun game. Saquon gets an awesome matchup, so I love Saquon. I don't think you can bench him. There was a part of me that wanted to rank Saquon legitimately at number one, but I settled at number five. Then in tier two, we have Chase Brown, who was dominant last week. I would expect that to continue as well. Achane, always a lock. ETN's volume is crazy right now. So I think he will be better than Taylor in the same game, but they're all must starts. Javonte against the Commanders, that's a no-brainer. RJ Harvey's really dominant right now, so a touchdown's pretty much guaranteed. The top 11 are pretty obvious, but then we got Genty at 12. The matchup for Genty's fucking awesome. Genty's going to be great. Then Derrick Henry, who popped off last week, could get a backup quarterback, so that's also interesting. Swift against the Niners, that game's going to be a shootout. I'm starting Swift no matter what. And then Kyron, I wish the committee wasn't a factor, but I would also start him against the Falcons. That's pretty safe. Gainwell's going off, so I like Gainwell a lot. He's in my top 18. He's a very good play with Metcalf suspended. Hampton is coming alive now that he's healthy. Should be pretty good. Travion with that elite upside in the concussion protocol. This one's tentative. I don't know if Travion will actually play, but if you have him, I would not bench him against the Jets. That's an elite matchup, and I think he is the more valuable of the two. Then we got the Walker-Charbonnet combination just inside the top 20. I like their matchup this week. Carolina's a great spot. Walker's playing better right now, so let's stick with Walker, but because it's a committee and Charbonnet usually vultures touchdowns, they're never going to be high in the top 20. But this week, I like both of them. Some upside against the Panthers. Start Walker and Charbs. And then Corum's on a heater. I'm starting Corum. That's the only reason why Kyron isn't ranked higher. Corum is really dominant. Had a vulture touchdown last week. I would assume that continues. That was his fifth touchdown in 4 games. Corum's playing lights out. Pollard's also playing lights out. I want Pollard in my lineup, but against the Saints, I don't think it's the best matchup you could find. And then Warren, I think, is behind Gainwell, but still very legit, very much involved. Kind of feel like I'm ranking him too low. But then Ramondre would vault up the rankings if something happened to Travion. If Travion doesn't clear concussion protocol, we are starting Ramondre. No doubt about it. I think he could be top 10 against the Jets. But then we're in flex territory, and my favorite is Dylan Sampson. He's a good waiver wire claim. With no Judkins, I think he'll play. He should get a ton of volume. Whoops. Grabbed the wrong thing there. Then we got Tyrone Tracy, who's playing pretty well. I like Tracy against the... Who does he play? The Raiders? That's a good spot. Tracy getting the volume. That's a decent matchup for him. Jacobs, not fully healthy. The injury status of Jacobs scares me quite a bit. And then their quarterback situation is odd. I don't know about Jacobs. To be honest with you, I don't think it's the safest play. Maybe I am too low, but Jacobs scares the fuck out of me right now. I am very tentative on Jacobs. I know he's kind of a lock in the lineup, but I love some matchups for some people elsewhere. To have him behind Corum sounds insane, but it's Tuesday. I might be coming around on Jacobs, but at the moment, I don't know if he's healthy. I don't know if he's going to practice or play. I got some bad vibes on Jacobs. Bucky's also in the same camp. He's getting vultured by Tucker, not fully healthy. Not the best matchup either. The Dolphins are sneaky good. Bucky, not my favorite play in the flex territory this week. Woody Marks, also not a lock to play. This tier is, I consider, just injured. Like Jacobs, Bucky, and Marks, not 100%. Very scary. Marks, probably the least likely to play. And Jawar Jordan is piecing it together. But Rico Dowdle, not a good matchup at all this week for him against Seattle. So going to fade him for sure. Not quite playing up to standard. And then Montgomery, hit or miss, boom bust with him. But against the Vikings, not my favorite matchup. I think I'm going to fade him. Needs a touchdown. A little tricky there. And then just outside the top 30, we have Kyle Monungai, also touchdown dependent. Rodriguez scores touchdowns pretty often, so I like him quite a bit. But sadly, it's the Commanders. Can't trust the offense too much. With Josh Jacobs, hard to say what'll happen. But Rodriguez is playing well. I kind of feel like I'm too low on Rodriguez, but we'll see how that changes over the course of the week. Then we got Tajay, who played well last week, but I still trust Pollard more. Hall is playing like shit. Isaiah Davis actually outscoring him. Then we got Pacheco, who had double digits last week, but yikes, against the Broncos. Not ideal. Aaron Jones against Detroit, not a good matchup. The Lions probably play for their season, probably play well. Carter gets a good matchup, but I never trust the Cardinals running back, so that's unfortunate. Jawar Jordan, one of the most valuable handcuffs. If you tell me Woody Marks doesn't play, I think he will get another 20 touches this week. Jordan is pretty consistent last 2 games. Then we got Emmanuel Wilson as the handcuff to Jacobs. Could get the start if Jacobs isn't fully healthy, but more just contingent upside, not like legit value. And then we got Isaiah Davis, who is actually playing better than Breece Hall last 2 games. That's shocking. Ty Johnson seems to really step up, especially in snow games this season, and I do think that's going to be the case this week. The forecast is pretty cold, roughly like 35 degrees in Buffalo, so that's why I like him. He plays well in cold games. And then Sean Tucker is getting touchdowns, stealing them from Bucky, so can't dismiss him, but don't feel confident starting him. Estime is behind Taysom Hill. We'll get to him later, but Taysom is the running back in New Orleans you want. He plays at tight end, so Estime, not valuable in my opinion. And then Algier, not the play this week. Not a good matchup against the Rams. I think I'm going to pass on Algier. 2 touchdown dependent. Jordan Mason, also pretty touchdown dependent. Tricky matchup against Detroit. I'll fade him. Kimani Vidal, still relevant, but losing volume to Hampton pretty fast. And then last player ranked is Chuba Hubbard at running back. Not ideal against the Rams. A bit tricky. So running back is going to be pretty valuable this week. Like for me to rank Jacobs, Bucky so low and still feel like they're decent starts, like while they're low in flex plays, it's just health reasons why they're so low. But if you're looking for some waiver wire claims, oddly, people are still out on Blake Corum. Blake Corum is still pretty rostered, so he's my favorite waiver wire pickup. Really safe production. I view him kind of identically to Charbonnet right now. So Corum is my favorite pickup off the wire. And then Dylan Sampson, I think, is going to have the potential to crush, but then against the Steelers, not a great matchup. He's awesome in full PPR. He catches a lot of receptions. I love Dylan Sampson in full PPR. So he'd be more valuable there, but still pretty decent. Next option off the wire. None of these guys are available. I think it's Jawar Jordan, actually. Yeah, next highest available would be Jawar Jordan, who has like elite potential if Woody Marks isn't going to play. The volume's awesome, so I like Jordan for upside. But at the moment, I still think Woody might play, so I'm not ranking him higher than Rodriguez. But I do think Rodriguez is valuable. Then, then you can also go Tajay. Tajay's a good pickup. I also think Carter's valuable. But then beyond that, I think we're kind of just scraping the bottom of the barrel, and we're just trying to get a contingent handcuff with Wilson. Isaiah Davis also playing decent, but at that point, what's the odds are you can get a better option off the wire. But yes, Zach, I fully understand this, and as I'm saying it out loud, I will probably be bumping up Jacobs a little bit. You know, like it's Tuesday. I normally never reveal the ranks on Tuesday, but like I'll be changing my takes over the course of the week. Maybe I'm too low on Jacobs and Bucky, but very worried about their health status I got bad vibes with them. But Sun Lu, thank you very much for the happy birthday. Thank you, Mark Twain, as well. And Jamie, yes, man. I am born on Festivus. I love Seinfeld, big George Costanza fan, and happy to be born on Festivus. Very, very much an honor, in my opinion. But Mark Twain says tough benching Jacobs, but he's also scaring me and might lean on Corum even in PPR. That's the thing. If you're watching Corum, he's playing really well. They are committing to him on the goal line, so he's scoring touchdowns very reliably. He has like 4 straight games with over double-digit points. If you're just sleeping on Corum, it's crazy that he's only rostered like 35% on ESPN. But definitely tricky. Jacobs is just not healthy. Jacobs didn't practice at all last week. If it wasn't for the division against the Bears, I don't know if he would have played. And that's where, in my mind, there's a world where he doesn't suit up against the Ravens this week. Because all they need to do to lock up the playoff picture is win against the Vikings. This game against the Ravens would be a nice win, but at this stage, it feels like they're not going to catch the Bears. And if they can just be healthy for the playoffs and beat the Vikings, then why push it with Josh Jacobs? He's not practicing. So that's why I'm like really worried about Jacobs. But Albie says Watson tried to screw me, if you recall. But I am in the finals of my big league and survived in guillotine down to the final 2. Good luck, bro. In a guillotine league, that's dope. Jamie says I have my aluminum pole up and my meatloaf dinner, but nobody wanted to wrestle. You know, at least air your grievances. At least do that. But that's it for running back. At this point, you can take a screenshot if you need it. But let's move on to receiver. I probably got a bunch of talked about. Let's move on to receiver, which is also a very deep position, so this might take a while. But receiver, top 5 is quite obvious. We got Puka at number 1 with no Adams potentially, but I think Adams returns, so Puka still number 1, but we'll see on Adams. Chase locking the lineup against the Cardinals. That defense sucks, so got to start him. JSN obviously must start, but the Panthers have a decent secondary, so maybe not the best play this week, but obviously top 5. So is CeeDee Lamb against the Commanders. I think he will be better than Pickens this week. Amon-Ra, also my top 5. That's pretty obvious. Devontae Adams, as long as he's active and plays, always a lock in the lineup. So got to start him in the top 10. Then we got A.J. Brown. There's some weird weather going on in Buffalo, so that could impact the game script a little bit. But in general, A.J. Brown is maintaining his lock in the lineup status. And then Olave after last week is clearly a lock. And I think the injuries to the rest of their offense just so guarantee the production. Like the volume's going to be probably 12 targets guaranteed. He gets the Titans matchup. That's a pretty good spot. Olave should crush for the second week in a row. I think Olave's a lock after last week. If he helped you advance, not going to bench him. I'm also not going to bench DJ Moore, assuming Rome and Burden are out. That's a very safe play, but even if they are active, I would still trust him. That game's going to be a shootout against the Niners on Sunday night. I want the Bears offense in my lineup. So DJ Moore, a must start in my top 10. And then George Pickens, maybe I should swap him with CeeDee Lamb. Like sometimes he is better, but there has been a bit of a dry spell lately. So Pickens, I do have a tier below of Lamb, but in my top 10 as well. Can't bench him. Michael Wilson, been on a heater lately, and Harrison didn't quite look right last week. So let's continue to trust Michael Wilson. The top 11 are pretty obvious, but then we got T. Higgins. As long as T. Higgins is active, feels crazy to bench him. A touchdown and double-digit points is pretty much guaranteed for Higgins every single week, it feels like. Against the Cardinals, that's also a good matchup, so let's trust him with Burrow. And then Evans has the opportunity to crush against the Dolphins. That on paper sounds like an awesome matchup. And then London, really lackluster last week, really let me down, to be honest with you. I apologize on the ranking, but he's still a guy I just can't bench. Like, he wasn't fully healthy. I ranked him too high, but to start him, I felt like was still the right process. It just, sadly, didn't work out. London has that 40-point upside. If you recall, he had 3 touchdowns against the Patriots and Christian Gonzalez. So he's matchup proof, got to trust him, but fading him a little bit after last week. And then Flowers is pretty much money in the bank every time. Like 60 yards plus is usually safe for Flowers. Then we got Sutton, should crush, but who knows? Maybe the Chiefs step up on defense in division. That game, though, I think is a blowout, so I want a piece of the Broncos offense if I can get it. Excuse me. And then Nico Collins, I worry about the Chargers matchup a lot. So despite him being a lock in the lineup, you can't bench him. I'm fading him pretty hard. Normally he's in my top 10. I got him at 17. So I lowered him like 7 spots. I kind of assumed I would rank him like right behind AJ Brown at number 8 on the list, but no, I have him at 17. I have him 9 spots lower than where he normally is. So worried about Nico. That Chargers defense is legit, gonna be tough, but don't think I can bench him if I have Nico Collins. Then we got Jamison Williams, always a high upside swing. He's been playing pretty well consistently. I'm not going to bench Jamison Williams. Then we got Juwan Jennings with no Ricky Pearsall and potentially no George Kittle. He's a guaranteed top 20 play. The volume should be there. Touchdown feels pretty safe. The Bears, though, have a decent secondary at times. That'll be a little tricky, but I think the volume will be safe. That Niners offense is too good. And especially if Kittle doesn't play, I'd be bumping up Juwan. Maybe above like Mike Evans. I think there's a world where Juwan Jennings is like a top 12 play this week with no George Kittle. But we also got Stephon Diggs, had a great game last week, but at times is a bit tricky. Against the Jets, though, not going to panic, definitely going to start Stephon Diggs. We're also going to continue to start Brian Thomas Jr. He had Pat Surtain last week and played like shit. I think the upside for Parker Washington was mainly a result of Thomas getting the toughest matchup against Pat Surtain, and them also focusing on Myers. I still believe Thomas is the guy you want, but I understand the hesitation if you disagree. Jefferson gets the Lions this week, played well against the Cowboys last week, so I think the matchup is decent. Let's start Justin Jefferson. I think he's fine. We had the Giants last week. Apologies. Not the Cowboys. He had the Giants last week, but have double digits. He was finally decent. And against the Lions, that's the best matchup you can find. Let's start Jefferson in a good spot. Terry, a little worried about Josh Johnson, but awesome matchup for him against Dallas. So want to upgrade him, but the quarterback situation probably doesn't completely ruin it. Watt a little tricky with Ewers, but had okay volume. Not my favorite play, but I think the volume was worth trusting. He had 9 targets last week. I think that's worth trusting with Waddle. But Devontae against the Bills, the weather's my only concern. Otherwise, he's usually in the top 25, and he still is. I have him literally at 25. So let's flex him, high-end flex play. Wandale gets the Raiders this week, and the volume's usually pretty safe with Wandale. They look like shit, but last week against the Vikings was the worst matchup at the moment. So last week I'm willing to write off. I still think Wandale is a fine floor play. Better in full PPR, though. And then Myers fell off a little bit last week, but I think it was the matchup. I'm willing to trust him a little bit more against the Colts. Their defense looked bad last week. And then Tet looked really good, but a little touchdown dependent against the Seahawks. I would assume he falls off a little bit. So he's outside my top 25, but volume is usually a saving grace with him. So still a decent flex option. And then Ladd and QJ against the Texans, I'm worried about it, but there's definitely some elite upside. Quentin Johnston has 20-point potential any given week. And then Ladd, I still believe, is like the desired go-to target, but then matchups will be tricky this week against the Texans. So some upside here, but very hard to know for sure. I think Quentin Johnston has a higher ceiling, but lower floor. I think I'd still rather start Ladd, but tough to trust both of them vehemently. Then we got Godwin, some upside against the Dolphins in a must-win, so that could work out if the ball doesn't go to Evans too much. I do think Godwin has value. Then we got Troy Franklin, who I want to rank higher, but not totally sure if Pat Bryant is not going to play. If he doesn't, then Franklin might be more valuable than like Ladd. I might bump up Franklin like 5 spots on par with Ladd and Tet, but in the same tier here, only like 3 spots lower. I still like him as a decent flex play. But then we got Christian Watson. Not sure about Malik Willis. That chemistry at receiver there is hard to bet on. Last week it was Romeo Doubs who was the main guy, but I still feel like Watson is the most dynamic. I still kind of prefer Watson of the 3, but it is tricky in Green Bay. Then we got Khalil Shakir, odd snow game against the Eagles. Not a good matchup and pretty random in Buffalo. So now we're fading flex plays is definitely not as safe, but outside the top 30 just a little bit. Still considerable, not ideal, but not my favorite. Then we got Pierce, Downs, and Pittman. They were good last week. Pierce was elite. Downs was okay. Pittman faded hard, but I'm going to rank him in that way. Good luck betting on Rivers, but they get the Jags this week, it's not a bad matchup. I think Pierce had some good connection with Rivers down the field. I think it's worth it with Pierce. The upside's been awesome consistently this year, but all three kind of a gamble, so good luck there. They're all kind of similar to me. Downs, I think, is like fairly safe, and then Pittman, I don't know what's going on. It seems like Rivers doesn't have the best chemistry with him. That's odd, but I think Pierce is my favorite play. Then we're gonna go Igbuka, but at this stage, I think we're benching players. It's not my favorite play. Igbuka scares me quite a bit. I trust Godwin a lot more. And then last week Washington went off, but like to bet on it 2 weeks in a row, not my favorite play. I don't know about Washington. I was reluctantly ranking him here. I wanted to drop him down like 10 spots. I don't know about Washington, to be honest. It's not the direction I'm trying to go in, but last week was so good. I understand the logic of trusting him. Then we have Keenan, not the same player last few weeks. Could play well, but I think against the Texans, I'm going to trust Ladd and Quentin Johnston more than him. He's wide receiver 40, so probably going to bench him. Harrison did not look good last week, so fuck that. I was wrong on Harrison big time. And then Jaden Reed in this bottom tier, some upside, but do you trust Malik Willis in that chemistry? I don't know about that. That's a pretty random target share in Green Bay. But I do think Reed has elite upside if he can give you a house call. He's not the worst bet. DK is scoring touchdowns. In Tennessee, DK is not terrible. Cam Ward does like him. Against the Saints, not a terrible matchup. He is a number one receiver after all. But then I got Judy right behind him, also number one, but against the Steelers, not ideal. Rashee Rice with a third string quarterback. Fuck that shit, man. I don't even think he plays. I think with the concussion, they hold him out. But if he does, I don't want to start him against Pat Surtain. That's terrible. That's going to be a really bad game out of Rashee Rice. And then Addison with Brosmer. I don't trust that. Against the Lions is a good spot, but I'm only going to trust Jefferson if I'm starting a Viking. And then Debo with Josh Johnson, I'm only going to trust Terry, but against the Cowboys, it's a good spot for him. Maybe I'm too low. Shaheed is finding a way, but a lot of it is on special teams, and even if he scores a touchdown, you don't get the yards on special teams. So it's tricky, but I think Shaheed actually is due to have an elite game. He's actually a very interesting pick in like best ball formats this week. I like him in DFS a lot. Then Booty, don't want to forget him, but it's easy to forget about Booty. He has some great upside though against the Jets. I feel like I'm a little too low on Booty. If one player I think could rise from this tier, it would be Kayshon Booty. And then lastly, Romeo Doubs. I feel like I might be way off on Doubs because he was the best connection with Willis last week. It's a little strange to know for sure in Green Bay. But in terms of waiver wire claims, oddly, people have cut bait on the Colts. So Alec Pierce is actually below 50%. He is my highest ranked that you can find on the wire. Nobody ranked above Alec Pierce is rostered below the 50% threshold on ESPN. So is Josh Downs. So they're my top two in terms of the rankings here, but I get it if it's tricky. We also have Parker Washington here available. So that's probably going to be a big asset off the wire. But to be honest, I don't really trust it. I do think Chimeri DK is somewhat interesting as well, but that's also huge liability. And then in terms of these rankings, the only one left that I do have in the top 50 is Kayshon Booty, and he is kind of interesting. If there's none of these names available to you, if they've all been taken, then I do have some honorable mentions. Next name I would look to off the wire would be Jalen Coker. Also like Ryan Flournoy. I like Pat Bryant, but I don't think he'll play because of the concussion. And then Isaac Tesla, Darius Slayton, and Malik Washington are desperation mode outside of the top 50. Those are my preferences at receiver. But these ranks will change. It's only Tuesday. Give me some time, but we'll see what's going on later in the week. And then let's check the chat first before we move on to quarterback. We got Gob MX here. Full PPR need one Theo Chigokonkwo, Taysom Hill. I know very shaky, but I've went with Theo and I made championship game, but his last few weeks been not good. I would go Taysom Hill here. I trust Taysom Hill, gets work in the run game and the passing game. We'll pull up tight end a little bit, but my preference here is Taysom Hill off the wire. Scott, are you doing any fantasy content through the NFL playoffs? This year, I'm going to try to do that. I haven't done it in the past too much, but this year I got the time. I'm happy to do that. We will plan on doing that all through January. yeah, looking forward to that quite a bit. But Rajan, thank you, my man. Appreciate it. It is my birthday. I'm 31 this year. Feels good. Arav says 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 1 flex. We got ETN, Warren, Hampton, Harvey, London. Let's look at the running back here. ETN, Warren, Hampton, Harvey. We're going ETN and Harvey. Receivers, we're going Michael Wilson and Evans. And then we have 1 flex. If Kittle is active, we're going to go Kittle. I assume he plays. And then the Saints defense is, yes, they're okay. Saints defense is fine. So give me ETN and Harvey. Give me Michael Wilson and Evans. And Kittle as the flex. Good luck, Arav. Good luck to you. But Bob hopes is Hampton or Swift, also Johnson or Hill, and thanks for helping me this season. Respect. We're going to go Swift over Hampton this week, and we're also going to go Taysom Hill over Juwan Johnson. Rajan says my opponent in the finals has Josh Allen and Dak. I feel like he might pick up T-Law or Herbert if Allen's injured. Should I go ahead and block him by picking them up? Yeah, I would definitely pick up Trevor Lawrence. I think you can leave Herbert alone, though. Against the Texans, I think Herbert is not a big swing play. But none of them, I think, are better than Allen or Dak this week. I believe I have them ranked above them, which, speaking of, let me get to my quarterback rankings now. I want to get through that before the end of the hour here. So let's cool it with the chat real quick. I promise I'll get back to you in the chat after the quarterback rankings. But let's run through QBs. Most of them are pretty obvious. But number 1, I'm going with Josh Allen. That's a pretty big no-brainer. Let's not fade him. In the snow, he always plays awesome, so should be a big bounce back against the Eagles. Stafford against the Falcons in prime time. If Adams comes back, this is definitely the quarterback 2. I ranked him way too low last week. I apologize on that. Drake May should be lights out against the Jets. That's a great spot, so start Drake May. Brock Purdy against the Bears has been dominant lately, but the Bears do force turnovers. That's my only reason to rank Purdy below Drake May. Turnover potential against Chicago is noteworthy. But Dak against the Commanders should play lights out on Christmas Day. Like that matchup for him. He's top 5. Going to start him for sure. We also have Joe Burrow in the top 6. I like Burrow against the Cardinals. That defense is terrible. So give me Joe Burrow for sure. Trevor Lawrence against the Colts has been playing awesome, but the Colts in division maybe limit him just a touch. That game I think will be closer than most people think. Lawrence, though, is playing awesome. He's definitely a top 10 good play. I was tempted to rank him above Dak Prescott, but Caleb Williams I think will play awesome going toe-to-toe with Purdy in that game. So good matchup against the Niners. I think Caleb has a great game this week. I was tempted to rank Caleb above Brock Purdy, but I don't think I can do it. There are some bad games with Caleb, and his receivers are kind of banged up, but love the value, love the upside. Matchup's awesome. Caleb I think is great in week 17. Bo Nix I do think is also pretty good, but maybe gets benched a little early. The Chiefs game is not going to be competitive, so needs to do all his damage before the end of the third quarter. I could see him sit early in the fourth. So that's the only hesitation there, but should have a great floor against Kansas City. And then Jalen Hurts in the snow, I could see the Bills be a problem there. Hurts has been a little bit disappointing at times, but my main concern with Hurts is just like Bo Nix. I think he could get benched early because if the Eagles don't win this game, they have no shot of changing their playoff seeding. And then they also need a ton of help to change anything on top of that. So if they're not competitive after halftime, by the end of the third quarter, I could see them bench Hurts just to keep him healthy for the playoffs. Because if they're not going to win, they're just locked into the 3 seed. And what's the point? After multiple seasons where he's missed time late in the year, he's had some injury risk at the end of the season. I think there's a world where Hurts does not finish the game. They could rest him if it's not a competitive matchup in the fourth quarter. That's my hesitation on Hurts. But Baker gets a good matchup. Hasn't been playing great lately, so not trusting him like crazy, but a good spot against Miami. I could see him be very valuable. Dart against Las Vegas, the rushing stats is why I bump him up here, but definitely risky. That Vikings game, though, that matchup was so tough. I think last week was worth writing off just because it was against Brian Flores and the Vikings. But then we got Lamar, might not even play. Lamar's really tough to rank. So QB 13, just outside of like must start territory. I don't know about Lamar. Pretty tricky. Let's be honest. He is not safe right now. But Darnold is a little tempting against the Panthers. I think on the road they'll play well, but Carolina's defense at times does step up, so that I think could cap his upside, but I think they will look good against Carolina. They have a shot at the number 1 seed if they win out. Brissett, I think against Cincinnati, should also be pretty good. His floor has been high, but last week was bad. Last week was actually not encouraging from Brissett, but I still think the logic to start him is there. Top 15 for sure against Cincinnati. Not going to panic. McBride should go off against the Bengals. But then we got Kirk Cousins, who last week I did tell you was a decent start, went over 20 points again. So Cousins could play well against the Rams. Definitely possible. But then we got Herbert against the Texans. I want to believe he'll overcome, but that's just such a tough matchup. Definitely going to fade him. Not going to be as good as last week like he was against Dallas. Then we got Goff against the Vikings. That matchup led to a bagel from Jackson Dart. Goff is not going to be the same against the Vikings. I think they win, but I don't think Goff is going to be elite against Brian Flores and the Vikings. That defense is playing lights out at the moment. Rivers looked good against the Niners last week. He gets the Jags, so I kind of feel like I'm too low, but it also feels really risky. He could be ass. That wouldn't shock me. Malik Willis runs the ball and also looked good in the passing game last week. So I trust Matt LaFleur to keep him viable, but the matchup against Baltimore isn't ideal, and he did get banged up. He's not a lock to play, but I assume he'll be the starter over Jordan Love. Then Tyler Shuck, we got him against the Titans. Could be handing it off and vultured by some rushing touchdowns elsewhere, but I do think Shuck is not terrible. QB 21 has a decent floor. In Superflex, I think you're getting at least 15 points out of Tyler Shuck. It's a okay proposition with Shuck from a floor standpoint. But outside the top 20, I got Stroud. I'm really worried that Chargers defense forces a lot of turnovers, so not a good play in my opinion. Then we got Josh Johnson. Great matchup against the Cowboys, but how much do you trust that? I don't know about that. I think I'll leave him alone. Geno gets a good spot against the Giants, but need Bowers to go off. That's tricky. Rodgers with no Metcalf. He's been okay, but the Browns are a tough spot. They also really play well against the Steelers. I don't want Rodgers in the lineup, but Shador right behind him in the same game could play well. Then we got Brosmer. Great matchup against the Lions, but yikes, I'm not going to trust him. And then Ewers against the Bucks, also a great matchup, but not going to trust him either. I did notice we got a super chat, so let me pull that up. Jeff Liu, we got a question here. I have Purdy and Brissett. My opponent has Michael Wilson, so I was planning on playing Brissett to counter Wilson's points. Smart move. I don't think it's as valuable of a decision as some people think. Like, I get asked this question sometimes where it's like, oh, I have the defense playing opposite my opponent's quarterback. Should I start them over X defense just because of the correlation? That's not really how I go about it. Like, in my opinion, you just want the highest points. And if it factors in where your opponent also benefits, then, it's not ideal, but it is what it is. You just want the most points on your team as possible. So I don't really consider that a tiebreaker. Personally, I think the heater that Purdy is on is just too valuable to bench. That Bears game, I think, is going to be really, really high scoring. And for that reason, I don't think I'm going to be benching Purdy here for Brissett. I understand the logic, but imagine this scenario where, like, Michael Wilson goes crazy and, like, you have Brissett. Like, that's good, but then every single time he scores a touchdown, your opponent scores an extra 2 points. If anything, it kind of feels like it's more detrimental to you than your opponent. Whereas if Michael Wilson shits the bed and the entire Cardinals offense plays terribly, then their guy plays like shit, but so does yours. You also avoid the risk of a really bad game if the Cardinals look atrociously bad. Then you also have a bad play, and maybe it gets negated by your opponent's bad play. But if they have a bad play and you don't start Brissett, then it only hurts them. So I think I'd go Purdy here, but not for like correlation reasons, just because I think Purdy is the better play. I got Purdy at 4, Brissett at 15. I think Purdy's a much safer play at this point in time. But thanks for the donation. I really appreciate it. Good luck on your championship team this week. And then can we catch up in the chat a little bit? Let's take a look. We got Tiago with a question. Hey, brother, took your advice with Tet and Wilson last week and made the finals. Went with my gut with Ladd over Myers, though, and it worked out for me. Good call on Ladd. I was reluctant to trust that Chargers offense, but that was a good call. Ladd had a great touchdown. Myers was quite an afterthought. I was wrong on the Jag. So awesome, man. Happy to hear it. Glad that it worked out for you. Awesome to hear you made the finals. I am envious. I only have one team alive in the finals. We'll get to that later, but it's only alive in best ball, not in my regular redraft leagues. I got eliminated in week 15 in both. Alex with a question. We got quarterback Dart and Love. We're going to go with Jackson Dart there. I don't think Love's going to play. Did you see the hit he took? The concussion he got was brutal. He got it right to the dome. I don't think he'll play on Saturday. So I'm going to go Jackson Dart there. Love, I just don't think he'll be active. And I think Dart gets a good matchup with rushing upside. So I'm going to go Jackson Dart, even if Love is active and playing. But then at tight end, you got Kelsey and Kincaid. Good time to pivot to my tight end rankings now that you mention it. We'll pull this up, and looks like between Kelsey and Kincaid, I do have Kincaid higher. Don't feel great about it. I think there's actually some much better options off the wire than both. But between these two options, I'm going to go Kincaid over Kelsey. Not liking that offense without Mahomes in Kansas City. And then waiver wire, you got J-Law. I assume that's T-Law. And Strange, Schultz. We're going to go with Schultz there. We're going to go Schultz. I like the matchup for Strange, but in general, Schultz is a much safer play. I will go Dalton Schultz, but look to Taysom Hill. I do like Taysom Hill. Let's get into the rankings real fast. At tight end, let's run through it. But here we go. Number one, pretty obvious, Trey McBride against the Bengals. That's the best matchup all season, so McBride should dominate. That's pretty obvious there. Kittle at number two, as long as he plays, you cannot bench him. That's also pretty obvious. Fannin is getting elite volume. The matchup's pretty good against Pittsburgh, but last week had 17 points. That's going to continue most likely. I would trust Fannin with my life at the moment. Kyle Pitts also playing lights out, but I think Fannin is getting more volume, a little bit safer. I'm going to go Fannin over Pitts, but Pitts in the top 5 over Bowers is saying a lot. Pitts is definitely a must start. Bowers always a must start, but a slightly trickier spot for him. I definitely lean Pitts a little bit more. As of today, I'd rather go Pitts, but Bowers not going to bench him. Don't get it twisted. Don't bench Bowers, but Goddard also playing really well, needing touchdowns, but they're hitting. I'm going to keep starting Goddard. His upside is higher than almost anyone right now. But then outside the top 6, we got Jake Ferguson against the Commanders. I think he has a good game. That's been a great matchup all season. The Commanders can't stop tight end. So you've trusted Ferguson for the most part. Let's keep him in the lineup. But I genuinely think beyond this point, I am looking to the waiver wire. I don't think anyone is locked in to be great. So that's why I have Taysom Hill ranked this high. Last week he had 12 carries. 12 rush attempts was the most of any Saints running back. So you're getting the Saints RB1 with Taysom Hill. That in and of itself is awesome. He also had 6 targets, 4 catches. He had a very good game. He had 13 fantasy points last week. I'm going to trust Taysom Hill. He's the guy, not Audric Estime. He's a cheat code once again. He wasn't really getting much volume. He wasn't looking good for a while. But I think it was the injury status, and now that they have no other choice, Taysom is their guy. Taysom's getting the volume. I want Taysom in the top 10. I think he's the best option off the waiver wire. Great tight end. Just because he doesn't have to catch passes to fill in. He gets the ball more than any other tight end you can find. We'll have Taysom in the top 10. I think he goes over double digits. Yet again, I want Taysom in the top 10. Hunter Henry had a great game last week. Should play well again against the Jets, but who knows, that ball in New England gets spread around, so could be a bit tricky, but I would assume Henry is still going to be a safe play. And then Loveland, I'm willing to go back to. I know last week was a bit disappointing, less than 5 points in a decent spot with no Romadunze or Burden. I think Loveland will get the touches. I think that game's going to be a big shootout. I really like the upside in that game, and I think Loveland is worth the swing. I think the value is really, really high. The floor doesn't really exist, but the ceiling is too high to fade. Then we got Juwan Johnson, who had a good game last week. Good target share. Also cracked double digits. Man, saying double digits is a tongue twister. Double digits, but I do prefer Taysom Hill straight up over Juwan Johnson. I believe they're going to use Taysom more reliably than Juwan, but he's still pretty good in terms of like full PPR floor value. He's pretty awesome, so I do think he's a top 15 play, very safe, bust proof. I think is the nature of my preferences at this stage. I think going forward, I want the most bust proof option, highest target share, reliable looks, and against Tennessee, I think he could also score a touchdown. Dalton Schultz, I don't think he'll score a touchdown against the Chargers. That's the only problem, but the volume's also pretty reliable, so I do like him as a very safe floor play as well. Pretty bust-proof with Schultz. He's reliable week in, week out. But A.J. Barner, everyone sleeps on him, very low roster percentage, but also very reliable week in, week out. Elijah Arroyo is on IR, and he's actually kind of the most consistent number 2 target for Sam Darnold behind JSN. He gets more looks more often than Cooper Kupp and Shaheed. He's actually pretty safe. They use him a lot. I like Barner. The matchup's good against Carolina on top of that. But Chig Okonkwo is playing awesome. I think Chig Okonkwo is actually kind of underrated. I did rank Gunnar Helm higher last week, but that was the wrong call. Okonkwo played well, and Helm is also banged up. So I'm willing to pivot. I think Okonkwo is confirmed. He is the top target for Cam Ward. He gets the Saints this week, so we'll see how that goes. That's a decent defense right now, but Okonkwo I do think has value. Not a bad play at all. Then we got Brenton Strange, a good matchup for him. Had another touchdown last week, but a little hit or miss, so good luck with Strange, but at tight end 15, not a terrible option. Then I think it's really tricky. We're just hoping for a touchdown. While they have higher upside than the top 15, much lower floor, if you ask me. If you tell me Kincaid has another stinker, not going to be shocked. So Kincaid at 16, not my favorite option. I could see Dawson Knox outperform him again, and that's very frustrating. So not in love with Kincaid anymore. But Tyler Warren has fallen off considerably. Rivers looks okay, but Warren hasn't quite lived up to the billing last couple games. Tricky spot to trust him against Jacksonville. But then we have Theo Johnson. Terrible matchup against the Raiders. Also been very hit or miss lately. Last week was terrible. I told you to bench him last week. I think he's more appealing in this game, but still not great. Needs a touchdown, and they haven't hit in quite some time. So more of a floor play, hoping for yardage, but interesting. Not going to completely dismiss him. But Kelsey, I'm going to fade. With the third string quarterback, fuck that shit. It's his last home game, though, in Arrowhead, possibly. If he retires, this will be the last time he plays for the Chiefs' home stadium. And in that scenario, maybe he steps up, but last week it was so bad. I don't think it's worth it. I think they're going to check out. I think he's done. I don't want him in the lineup. But Colby Parkinson was a bad play last week, had some drops, so might have lost some confidence there. Terrence Ferguson was much better, but I still think if I'm starting a Rams tight end, it's Parkinson, not Ferguson. Andrews, I don't know what's going on with him. That's really hard to project. So I'll just bench Andrews. I don't feel good about it. I'm only trusting Flowers and Henry in the Ravens offense. And then outside the top 20, we got Darren Waller. Was okay, but not great with viewers. A touchdown is definitely less likely to hit these days with Waller, and I think it's not worth it. I'll fade him. Ingram could pay off, but really hit or miss. And when he doesn't, it's terrible. So I'll ignore him. Ferguson, I like a lot. Was a second round pick. I think the upside long term is good, but more of a dynasty acquisition. I still think Parkinson is more valuable, but Oronde Gatz, another rookie, has been really falling off lately, but who knows, could emerge again randomly. It could happen, but I'm not going to bet on it. Helm, also another rookie that's looking good at times, but I think he's too injured. Last week with a toe injury, Okonkwo was definitely much better, so Helm, I don't think is the better play. And then Knox has been actually really good lately, but I can't say I'm like confident in starting him. Last week I don't know what I was thinking last week. I apologize. Ranking and endorsing Dawson Knox. But lastly, we got TJ Hawkinson. Not a terrible matchup, revenge game for him against the Lions. Could be worse, but number 28. Let's fade TJ Hawkinson. So those are my tight end rankings. This week, they might change, but at the moment, tentatively, that's my preferences. And then Tiago with a question, can you elaborate a bit on why you still rate BTJ over Myers as the number 1? I have both, but feel a lot more safe starting Myers given the last 6-ish games. I think the respect given to Brian Thomas Jr. by Pat Surtain last week was why I'm still trusting Brian Thomas. I think he's still the more talented play, but he was banged up. The matchups haven't been great. This matchup doesn't scare me at all, though. Unless Sauce Gardner's active, I'm not afraid of the Colts. So I still think he's the guy that they want to be the alpha. That's my logic on it. But I understand being worried about it. I don't feel super confident that that's a guarantee, but I still prefer personally Brian Thomas Jr. Anthony says need 2 Aaron Jones, Mondre, Gainwell, Michael Carter, half PPR. I'm going to go probably Ramondre and Gainwell there, especially if Travion is out. If Travion plays, I might consider Aaron Jones, but I'm still definitely going to go Gainwell, and I'm not going Carter. So it's probably Gainwell and Ramondre at this point in time. Anthony assumes that Henderson and Mason are out. It's definitely possible, but even if Mason's out, I would still go Ramondre over Aaron Jones. Hooper edits says, do I start Omarion Hampton, Zay Flowers, or Mike Evans as the flex? We're going to start Evans and I think Flowers. I think against Houston, I'll fade Hampton. But Hampton's interesting, but I think I'm going to go Evans and Flowers. However, if there's no Lamar, then maybe I won't go Flowers. If Lamar sits, then I'm probably going to go Hampton over Zay Flowers. Albie says, I have one team advanced to the finals of the Schnauzer. Guess I'll set her for 100K. Good luck, bro. I was this close to advancing in the Schnauzer. I had a second place team that missed by like 10 points, and it all came down to like, I think an Alec Pierce touchdown at the end of the day. That one was unfortunate. I think that's the team. Maybe it was a different one, but I came in second in my pod in the Schnauzer. I was very close to advancing. Good luck, man. That's awesome. I got 2 teams that advanced into the final. We'll get to those in just about 10 minutes or so. I want to get to it, but let's run through the chat first. We got No Rivera. I can pick up BTJ, Parker Washington, Burden, and Franklin. Full PPR. Which order should I prioritize? Also, Stevenson over Carter. Yes, Stevenson over Carter for sure. In terms of receiver, I'm going to go BTJ, but I understand if people like Washington, I just don't trust him. If not, I'm going to go Franklin after BTJ, and then I'll go Washington over Burden. So at receiver, BTJ, Franklin, Washington, then Burden. And then at running back, we're going Stevenson over Carter. Good luck, bro. Good luck a lot. Angela says, my team is set, so I'll be adding players to block my opponent. Good luck. Good luck on that. That is a viable strategy. I do that sometimes as well in the playoffs. But Albie says, I have Drake and Josh in my guillotine. I started Josh last week and almost blew it. Think I want to trust in May this week with the money on the line. I get it, but I think in the bad weather, Allen always plays well. I think he will bounce back after a terrible game. I think Allen's the play, but I have May at number 3, so they're both awesome. You know what sucks? I was in the flock tournament with both Josh Allen and Drake May, and my opponent beat me, and they also had Drake May. I knew that if I didn't advance with Josh Allen points, I was probably going to lose, and I ended up missing by less than 5 points. They benched Jonathan Taylor on that final drive after the interception by Rivers, and I had no shot. I was down 5 in the last few minutes. Just couldn't tough it out. Sadly, Josh Allen shit the bed. I was pissed, but it is what it is. Arav says you missed the flex from Hampton, Jalen Warren, London, and Terry. I'm not sure about missing the flex, but Hampton, Warren, London, and Terry, we're going to go London there, I think. I still am a believer in London, but I get it. Rajan says, which tight end would you start, Schultz, Loveland, or Colby Parkinson? We're going to go Colston, Loveland, but I totally understand going Schultz there. I think Schultz is safer, but genuinely my gut is telling me that Niners game has so much value. I want the upside of the Loveland game against Kittle. That's my stance on it, but it's still Tuesday. I'll be changing my opinion. And Tiago, can you talk a bit more about Nix and Caleb? I'm going to be going more in-depth later in the week, so I don't really want to go too in-depth right now. But it's kind of just a gut feeling. Like Caleb, I think, will be awesome against the Niners. That defense isn't scary, and I think they win. So that's my logic. Nix should be great as well, though, on top of that. But Bjorn says Gibbs, Gainwell, and Warren. I have McBride and Bowers, who's sitting on these choices. 2 running backs, 1 tight end, 1 flex. We're going to go Gibbs 100%. And then at RB2, I'm going to go Gainwell over Warren. You also have McBride and Bowers. I'm starting McBride. I'm going to start Warren over Bowers, I think. I think if I have McBride, I'm going to bench Bowers there. Because then I get the insurance policy of having both Gainwell and Warren. And with no Metcalf, they're going to run the ball like crazy. I'm going to trust Gainwell and Warren over Bowers this week. But that's tricky. That's a tough one. Cooking Bacon says I have Stafford and Purdy, but Purdy's been more projected points. Thoughts on that? I don't fear the Falcons defense on Monday night as much as I'm worried about the Bears defense on Sunday night. The Bears force turnovers, the Falcons don't. And then Stafford's also vying for the MVP, and this is his last primetime game. Standalone can kind of seal his case for MVP with a major performance. I'm going to go Stafford there. That's my logic on it, but I understand trusting Purdy. Purdy's been awesome. Purdy shockingly outscored Stafford last week, but I think his matchup is not as good in week 17, so that's why I'm going to trust Stafford over Purdy. But Mark Twain says, feeling like Taysom Hill is a trap as that could have been his last home game. Leaning Strange over Taysom in PPR. I get it, but their running back room is just so depleted. Unless Alvin Kamara returns, I think those touches in the run game are legit. I don't see why they go off of him. They don't trust Estime, man. Like, they don't have another running back. That's my stance on it. You're getting double-digit rush attempts and like 6 targets. That's a lot of production. I don't think it's going to fade. I think Taysom's going to be fine. Against the Titans on top of that, I think he's going to be fine. But I think Strange is not a bad pivot. Strange is fine. Anthony says T-Law over Hurts. I've had Hurts all year, but T-Law has been too good not to start. Hurts can be hit or miss. That's my logic as well. Yeah, that's pretty much exactly how I felt about it. Lawrence, a bit shocking for him to play this well, but he's on a heater. I don't want to fade him and dismiss Liam Cohen's system. The matchup's also better against the Colts by a lot compared to Denver. So if Lawrence can do that against the Broncos, what can he do against the Colts to seal the division? Should play really well. And then Hurts has been a little lackluster lately. The snow in Buffalo as a potential there kind of worries me a little bit. So that's my hesitation a little bit on Hurts on top of that. But then I also think they could bench Hurts if they're not, in a 1-possession game in the fourth quarter. I don't think they're going to have much to play for if the game is out of hand. So that's the reason why I go Lawrence over Hurts. I think the heater he's on is too good. But Rajan says, please pick 2 receivers, 2 running backs, and 2 flexes. We got Pickens, DJ Moore, Waddle, Bucky, Warren, Carter, Schultz in full PPR. Well, at running back, I'm not going to start Michael Carter. So it looks like we're starting Bucky and Warren at running back. Good luck with that. I'm a bit worried about Bucky, but not going to go with Michael Carter. I don't trust Carter at all. Receiver, we have definitely DJ Moore and Pickens. I'm not going to start Waddle over them. And then our 2 flexes, I'm definitely going to go Schultz in full PPR. And then are we going to go Carter over Waddle in full PPR? I don't think so. Let me just remind myself on how many targets Carter had last week before I'm just completely off base on this. I'm pretty sure my stance on Carter hasn't changed. No, he was effective in terms of yards per carry last week, but had no targets, 6.5 points. I'm going Waddle for sure over Carter. So you only have 1 player to bench on this question here. So I'm benching Carter. That's where I'd go. Tiago says, thanks for the answers. Enjoy your birthday. Thank you, man. Really appreciate it. It's been a fun day. I've had a good time, and I can't wait for my Chargers game on Saturday. That's going to be such a good present. Can't wait for that. But Wave View says Saints or Jags defense. We're going Saints this week. Rivers looked pretty good. Meanwhile, the Titans, I don't trust as much. Wave View have a blast in SoFi. Great seat. Yeah, man, I'm so fucking stoked. I'm in section 103 or 102, row 3. I'm in the third row of the bottom dome section. I'm so excited for this game. I'm gonna try to get there early and see like the players come out on the field, the pregame introductions. That's gonna be fun. Bjorn says Dak or Drake. That's really tough, man. That's so close, but I'm gonna go Drake May. I think I'll go Drake May. Mark Twain says I didn't realize he had 12 carries last game. Yeah, man, the rush attempts were there, bro. They used him as the RB1. Jeff says, do you have defense rankings? Yes, that's the last thing I forgot to mention. I almost forgot about that. Apologies. I was going to get to it, and then we just kind of forgot it. So let me rip through this, and then I'll drop the timestamps later if you're coming in late, and we'll have timestamps if you can hit it later if you want. But I'll be updating these as the week goes by. Like, don't hold me to all these rankings, but let's run through it. We got the Broncos as the number 1 play against the Chiefs and a third-string quarterback. They're going to blow them out. They're going to embarrass Kansas City. This is a long time coming. Broncos in division. That defense going to be lights out. So start Denver for sure. Start the Patriots. No-brainer against the Jets. That's a lock in the lineup. Then we're going to go Chargers. I know the Texans at times are tricky, but their offense looked like garbage against the Raiders last week. If Woody Marks doesn't play, then should be a great time. And the Chargers forced turnovers. People are reluctant to believe in them. No one considers them a threat in the playoffs because of their offensive line, but everyone dismisses their defense. Their defense going to play great against CJ Stroud. Expect turnovers here with the Chargers. I think it'll be a low-scoring game with a lot of turnovers. Then we got Houston. The Texans in the same game, I think, are going to hold their own. That's going to be a very tight matchup, so give me Houston right behind them. Ben, I see your super chat. I'm going to rip through this and then get to your super chat right after I run through these rankings. But Seattle, I have at number 5. They get the Panthers, so not going to trust Bryce Young. The Seahawks should play well. I'm also going to go back to the Saints this week. That was a great call by me last week. I had them at number 2. They were a great, excellent play. And I think against the Titans, even on the road, their defense is playing well. I want the Saints in my lineup. Then I think that Steelers-Browns game is valuable. Pittsburgh's defense should step up, but we've seen the Browns actually beat them a lot in Cleveland. This will be a weird game, and weather might be a factor as well. So if weather's a problem, I'll bump them up, but at the moment, I do kind of feel like Fannin is going to give them some problems. And then without TJ Watt, their defense just isn't fully healthy at the moment. Could give up some garbage time, possibly, as well. But the Browns in the same game, I think are going to keep it close. I actually picked the Browns to win. They have a good record against Pittsburgh, especially at home. And I think their defense, with no DK Metcalf to worry about, is pretty good. But then we got Detroit against the Max Brosmer Vikings. Their season's on the line. It's a must-win. I think the Lions' defense is kind of tempting, not going to lie. But they're mainly this high because I'm worried about a lot of other defenses from a floor standpoint against Brosmer and the Vikings. They should be okay. But the Cowboys get Josh Johnson and the Commanders on Christmas, so they're also kind of interesting. But their defense sucks, so just like the Lions, a lot of risk here, but the matchup is tempting. Then we get the Titans hosting the Saints. Saints offense isn't crazy good. They win in like low scoring games. So Titans aren't atrocious. They were a good play last week. I had them ranked exactly at 11 last week as well. So could be okay. The Rams traveling to Atlanta on Monday night could really limit Kirk Cousins. That'll be interesting, but could also see Bijan torch you. If London goes off, that'll suck. And Pitts is playing well. So Rams, I think, are actually more of a floor play than ceiling play, but against the Falcons, it's not terrible. And then all these matchups are kind of tricky. Like the Ravens and Packers game, we got some backup quarterbacks, so that'll be interesting, but could also see that blow up in your face. It wouldn't shock me if that's a blowout by both teams. Then the Packers in the same matchup, that's also a little tricky. So that'll be a close game. Good luck with them, but with no Parsons, they're not as interesting. The Bucks against Quinn Ewers should be okay, but the Bucks defense has really shit the bed at times, so I don't trust them at all. Then we get the Vikings in the bottom tier. The Vikings defense is great, but against the Lions, I don't want to trust them. That feels like a negative waiting to happen. Then we got Miami against the Buccaneers. I don't want to trust them. They're tanking for a better draft pick. The Jags against the Colts. That is interesting in division. It could be a valuable play, but the Colts offense looked pretty good last week. I think that game is actually a bit more high scoring than you might think. And then the Panthers against the, who do they play? Carolina's hosting Seattle. The Seahawks offense can absolutely torch you, so fuck that, but Carolina sometimes is okay. Then the Colts against the Jags in division maybe play better, but last week looked like shit. That Bills-Eagles game is going to be high scoring, so let's fade them, but the snow could help them. I doubt it's worth your time, however. And then lastly, in the top 24, we got the Bengals hosting Arizona. But these are the bottom of the barrel. Every defense that's not pictured, I have no interest in, whether they're just a terrible unit or have one of the worst matchups you could find. There's no way I'm ranking a team like the Giants any higher. The Jets, like tight end. Defense is tricky this week. I think once you pass Cleveland, it's actually really gross at defense. I think once you hit the Packers, that's kind of the cutoff point. I think you're really, really in dire straits once you start considering the Buccaneers and everyone in the bottom tier. So good luck. I hope you can get the Saints still, but ideally you stash some defenses. The Broncos, Patriots, and Chargers I think are going to be great. And then the Texans and Seahawks are so talented. Even in somewhat difficult matchups, I think they'll be fine. Not bad, but the Saints host against the Titans on the road are the next best play. Saints at 6, I think, are the best waiver wire pickup this week. So look for the Chargers as well. The Chargers are actually very low rostered. On ESPN, it's like 30% rostership with the Chargers. So still slept on, not quite sure why, but like them quite a bit. A good play, if you ask me. So that's it for all my rankings. We'll drop the timestamps later. If you want to come back to it, you won't have to just scroll through everything. But we do have some super chats to get to. We got Ben coming in here saying, Adam, did you see my email I sent you? I sadly did not. I won the chip with Jettas. Dope, man. Fucking awesome. Short playoffs had Puka and big games from May, Sutton, Gainwell, Harvey. Appreciate all the advice and work you put in. Great balance of intuition and stats. Thank you so much, Ben. Really appreciate it. And that's awesome to hear, man. To win the chip with Jettas. Wow. That has to be an accomplishment. Very, very rare for that to happen. That's awesome, bro. Love to hear it. Thanks for the donation as well. And FZ Ware also with the donation. Egbuka, Diggs, Parker Washington, and Goddard need receiver and flex in full PPR. Egbuka, Diggs, Parker Washington, and Goddard need a receiver and flex. We're going to bench Egbuka there. Definitely go Diggs at receiver. And then for the flex, I'm going to go Goddard. I'm going to stick with Goddard. I'm not trusting Egbuka, and then Parker Washington feels like a flash in the pan. Those are points I think if you chase, you're going to get burned with. I could be dead wrong on Parker Washington, but he just doesn't feel like my desired play this week. He's just not the guy I want to fully trust. Could be great. Could be dog shit. I'm just going to put in Goddard. Goddard has elite upside and has definitely been more consistent. So give me Diggs and Goddard there. I think that's the play I'd rather go with. But I'll move this over to the top. Thank you for the donation as well. Very kind of you. And let me try and rip through the chat, and then we'll get to my playoff advanced rates over on BestBall on Underdog. But Cook and Bacon says Steelers or Lions defense. We're going to go Steelers this week. Have them at 7, the Lions at 9. I'll take the Steelers at the Browns. And then Rajan says, sorry, I meant only one wide receiver and one running back and 2 flex. What was your question, Rajan? Oh, okay. Yeah, this is the one where I was like, we're only benching Michael Carter. Only 1 receiver, 1 running back, and 2 flex. Okay, definitely different. At running back, we're going to go Jalen Warren. At wide receiver, we're going to go DJ Moore. In the flex, we're going to go George Pickens and Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz will be the flex over Jalen Waddle. Bench Waddle, Carter, and Bucky Irving. damn, sad to say, to bench Bucky Irving. But Cook and Bacon says, that's awesome. Enjoy your birthday. Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. EW Lynn says, Saints over Steelers or Pats for the defense. We're going Patriots. I want the Patriots, man. Against the Jets, give me the Patriots all day. Rajan says, I'll put the question again. Yeah, we're going Pickens, DJ Moore, Jalen Warren, and Dalton Schultz. That's my stance on it today. Maybe I'll change my opinion later, but at the moment, that's my call on that. But Albie says, Saints did me good last week. Thanks for the recommendation. Cheers, bro. Happy to help. Saints were a good call last week. But EW Lynn says, help me out, guys. My opponent is loaded, favored by 14. My running backs are Christian McCaffrey, Javonte Williams, Hampton, Warren, and Carter. Can swap some around if I can find more on waiver wire that might make some sense. Full PPR, we're 100% starting Christian McCaffrey and Javonte Williams. And then I'm going to go, I think, Hampton over Warren. Let me confirm. These are the running back rankings for me this week. Yes, I have Hampton over Warren. Give me CMC, Javonte, Hampton, Warren, and then Carter is who I'm benching for sure. In that order. Blitzy JP says Taysom Hill or Warren at tight end. We're going Taysom Hill all day long. Jeff says the same as me, but prefers Hampton over Javonte. Mark Twain says leaning Seattle over Houston, but it's a nice coin flip to have. Yeah, it's so close between the two. Super, super close. If anything, I think the Seahawks might force more punts, and then the Texans, I think, might get more sacks. That's my tiebreaker. I think the Texans get an extra sack or two compared to Seattle. Like literally like a 2-point difference between the two, but I think I prefer Houston just a smidge over Seattle. And then Rajan says, tough luck on Bucky, I guess, but thank you. I hope I win. This is my first time doing fantasy, and with your help, I made it to the finals. Dope, man. Love to see it. It's funny. I know a lot of people that when they first start playing fantasy, they win in their first year. It's odd. Like I don't know if beginner's luck is like a genuine like factor in fantasy, but I think what happens is at the draft, people feel sorry for you and really underestimate you. And then all of the like picks that actually turn out to be really good that no one's thinking, they just leave them to you. I think that's what happens in the draft. They just pass on some players that like everyone's sleeping on, and then they end up falling to the people that are beginners. And then people that are beginners are also like, they also feel the competitive nature of the game, and they're like, okay, well, I don't want to be bad at this. Let me actually put effort into it. And then they might actually take it more seriously than someone who's been playing for a long time. It's interesting, the dynamics that go into it, but that's awesome, man. First time ever playing, made the finals. That's not easy to do. Don't expect it every year. Making the playoffs is something you should expect to do every year if you feel confident in your ability, like I do. I if I don't make the playoffs, it's a failure. That's my stance on it. But to make the finals involves a little extra luck. But awesome that it worked out for you. That's great news, man. I'm happy to hear that. EW Lynn says, I'm weak on receiver. I was thinking a third running back in my flex. Definitely not a bad week to do it. I think running back is actually super deep this week. Like, these are my ranks at running back, and I think honestly, once we hit Rodriguez at 33, who's like deep in the flex territory, I still think you're getting a decent shot at 10 plus points. I actually still like Rodriguez. And I have 32 players ranked above him. So running back, I think, is very deep this week. I think this is a good week to start a bunch of running backs. But FZ says Fairbairn or Pinero, and then the Browns or the Texans. I'm going to go Kaimi Fairbairn. I think the Chargers will hold the Texans out of the end zone a lot this week. And then at defense, we're going to go Houston over the Browns. Browns are interesting, but Rodgers is playing well lately. Gainwell and Warren are also stepping up. So I think I'm going to pass on the Browns if I can play the Texans. Give me Houston, not just at defense, but also at kicker. Give me Fairbairn over Pinero. But Blitzy JP says, do you have kicker rankings? I do not. I'm currently running Myers, but I have Dicker benched and some good waiver options too. This week, I could understand going Dicker over Myers. I think I would agree with Mark Twain because that Texans game is going to be low scoring. Just like my logic on Fairbairn, I think Dicker is also going to be asked to hit some kicks on top of that too. I'm going to go Cameron Dicker over Myers this week. I think the Seahawks are going to score some touchdowns, whereas the Texans, I think, settle for field goals. That game is also indoors, so no weather concerns. I think it actually could be windy this week in Carolina. It's going to be raining in Carolina. So yeah, let's avoid the weather. Let's stick with an indoor game, and also a team I think will settle for field goals more often than score touchdowns. Give me Cameron Dicker over Jason Myers. Jeff says my sister played her first fantasy league this season and beat me in the league. I was just stick to it being beginner's luck. It's strange how often it happens. This game is very funny. But Albie says, do I think Travion plays? What does your gut tell you? I think so, but that's like hopeful optimism. I got a lot of Travion shares in BestBall, so I'm just really hoping for it, but it's not a guarantee. I think he'll play, but it's not a guarantee at all. Until we hit Friday, I don't think you're going to know. Like, unless he's full in practice on Friday or has been limited Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, then you can't say at this point in time. It's just too early in the year, in the week. But Blitzy JP, there's McPherson and Pinero on waivers. If you have Dicker, I'm going to stick with Cameron Dicker. I'm not going to move off Cameron Dicker for these two options. But Crew Disser, his sister W. I'm going to the Charger game with my sister. That's going to be a fun time. Me and my sister going to the Charger game. She's never been to an NFL game before. It's going to be fun. I'm really, really stoked. But okay, now that I'm done with this, we've shown you the rankings. I'll drop the timestamps later, I promise. But let's move on. I'm done with this. So if you stuck with me, appreciate you. Hit that like button if you haven't done so already. But I want to get to my BestBall shares. I want to bring this up. So here we go. This is my Badge Bros team. I did advance. We scored 205 points this week, which let me pull up a leaderboard. I think I finished in the top 10. Last I checked, I think I was in the top 10 this week. So I got a good shot here in the Badge Bros. This is my best team by far. Let me confirm where I finished last week. Yes, I had the 9th highest score in the Badge Bros tournament in week 16. I scored 205.06. I missed the high score by 10 points, and I did finish in the top 10. So odds are whoever finishes first this week is not going to finish first, second, in week 17. Like, odds are that's not going to happen. But for me to finish top 10, I got a really good feeling about this, especially in this tournament, because the Badge Bros is not a cheap tournament. It was a $10 entry, 56,000 entrants, 375 people in the final. And if I win this thing, we got a shot at $100,000. I am live to win $100,000 this week. I cannot fucking wait. However, if we finish 9th like we did last week, we would get 6,000. I'd be fine with that as well. I'm not going to be upset even if I get 6,000. That's definitely a big fall off from 100K, but I don't give a shit. Anything over $1,000 in the finals, I'm going to be happy with. Like, I'm not going to be picky. I've never been in the finals before. I got 2 teams in the finals, and this is one of them. Let me show you the roster, because this roster is fucking loaded, bro. This roster is dope. We have Jared Goff, Caleb Williams, and Jaden Daniels at QB. To advance with Daniels is pretty impressive, because he was drafted pretty high. That's my take on it. But at running back, we used Genty last week. We also used James Cook and Jahmyr Gibbs. I also have DeAndre Swift, Ray Davis as the handcuff to James Cook, just for good measure. And I also have Travion Henderson. So I'm really hoping Travion plays, because he has that elite upside against the Jets He could be the piece you need. I hope it's not Ramondre. I hope it's Travion. But I also have Puka at receiver. That was the key advance piece on this team. But then I also have George Pickens. I also have JSN. I also have Jamison Williams, Debo Samuel, Devontae Adams didn't play last week. I also have Roma Dunze, who didn't play last week. This team is fucking loaded, man. And then at tight end, I'm rocking with Kittle and Loveland. This was a very, very fun team, and I cannot wait for week 17. Going to be awesome, and I think that Niners-Bears game is going to go absolutely berserk and nuclear. I also think the Rams-Falcons game is going to go nuclear. I am really excited. I just need quarterback to work out for me. I need Goff or Caleb Williams to have a great game. Without quarterback, I don't think I can win it. But if you tell me Caleb Williams has a top 3 performance this week, I think it will work out. And I think Caleb will be the piece that I advance with. I think those are the points I'm going to count this week in week 17. That's my take on it. If I can drop another 200 points, I got a great shot. But this is the team I have a shot with in the Badge Bros Brawl. Shot at $100,000. I am fucking excited, man. I'm excited. But we got to get lucky. Let's not get it twisted. Like, you need a bit of luck on your side. You need a little bit of just ideal circumstances to thread the needle. I hope it works out. But I'll show you one more team, and then I'm going to log off. One last team. Sadly, the flock contest missed. I mentioned this to you earlier. I missed by 4.5 points against the Catalina wine mixer himself, Rob Riggle. Sadly, Josh Allen did not come through for me. We both had Drake May. I had Josh Allen. He had Mahomes. And I knew if I could advance with Allen instead of Drake May, I'd have the tiebreaker. But sadly, it didn't work out. We stuck with May on both teams, and I missed by 4.5. But I didn't score in the top 100 in the first place. I don't think I really deserved to advance in this format. So sad to see that turn out that way, but it is what it is. Can't win them all. In the puppy, I came super close. I finished in third. And entering Monday Night Football, I was actually in the lead, but Alec Pierce, he dropped 22 points, and the team in first did overtake me. And then even the team in second overtook me. I missed out an extra $25 in terms of payout, but did not advance in the puppy, sadly. We got third place. It is what it is. If I did advance, I would have won $750. That was unfortunate on Monday night. But in the MMG, I also took second place. This one wasn't that close. I missed by 18 points, or 16. So not that close, but did finish second. So always kind of a bummer to come so close and not have it work out. But we did win $50 with this team. That's not bad. Drafted it with $5. Not bad. Not bad at all. I also have a Schnauzer team that finished in second. I told you, Albie, we finished in second with this team. This one I think was really close by 13. It missed 152 to 165. So effing close, man. Like 3 teams I finished in second. I was so close to getting another like $1,000 in winnings this weekend. It just didn't work out. Sadly, it did not work out. And then I also had some little board teams that were alive, but none of them were close. Highest one finished in 6th in the pod, so nothing to brag about. But that last team that's advancing, that final team that is advancing, that gives me a shot, is this Pomeranian. And the Pomeranian is a smaller tournament, $20,000 to first, but hey, I'll take that. And it's actually a flatter payout structure. If I finish top 15, I still would make $1,100. Whereas in the Badge Bros, if I finish top 15, I'm barely making like $2,000. Like the payout's actually decent in the Pomeranian as it trickles down. But we won this by 8 points. This is the team we advanced using Brock Purdy in the lineup. We also had Matthew Stafford and Justin Herbert. So I was locking up 30 points at QB regardless of what happened. But we did go with Purdy in BestBall last week. At running back, I don't have much to offer, though. I got Pacheco with 10.5 points and Swift with 8. I was shocked to advance with those running backs. But I do have Travion on the bench. We got Rashad White. I don't feel good about that. And then Baishal Tutin is not healthy right now, so that's not good. We need Travion to be healthy on Sunday. If Travion plays, this team has a shot. But at receiver, we're also kind of loaded. We have Puka, A.J. Brown, Michael Wilson. It's a little thin beyond that with Downs, Demarcus Robinson, and Jalen McMillan. Then we got Devontae Adams didn't play, and Keon Coleman. And then at tight end, we advanced with Kittle and my boy Terrence Ferguson. Yo, Terrence Ferguson coming in clutch. That is, I'm happy to see that with Terrence Ferguson. So that's the second team. This one I'm not as excited about, but who knows? It could work out. And really, I'm just putting all my eggs and hope in the Badge Bros semifinal. The Badge Bros team is where it's at. This team is loaded. And it looks like BBMDB is updated. It looks like there's a finals tab here. So let me play around with this. Let's scroll down to the Badge Bros Brawl. Take a look at the leaderboard. I've never seen this on this website before, so it's new for this week. It's loading. Okay, here we go. Where am I? Where do they put me? Don't see my name. So maybe they don't project me for a high output. But we finished top 10 last week. We got a shot, man. We got a fucking shot. I don't even know what this is. Is it just projections? Yeah, okay, it's just projections. Like, it's fun to think about, but it's pretty meaningless. Projections don't mean shit, man. Projections never mean shit. They're interesting, but they're never fully accurate. Never going to go the way it's projected to go. That's just a given. So if anything, if you're projected for first, you're not going to win. If anything, maybe I should just search myself. Maybe that's the way. Yeah, what does it project me for? That's how I'll go about it. Oh, I misspelled my name. Nice and blunny. All right, this is taking a while, but you take Badge Bros and let me win the Schnauzer. Win. Yeah, perfect combo. I'm happy with that deal, Albie. Deal. Lock it up. Sign it. Guarantee. Deal. Okay, here we go. This is what they're projecting me. 148 points projected to win $400. I think I'm gonna make more than that. I think I'm gonna win more than that. Expected 838 per team. Oh, okay, I get it. It assumes I'm gonna win $400, which in this tournament, that would be somewhere in the top 200. It has me projected to finish just outside the top 100. So let's prove it wrong. Let's prove this database wrong. I mean, I'm not going to be too upset with that. That's fine, but we're shooting for the top 10. That's what I want. Top 10 in this league. We finished top 10 last week, and top 10 would guarantee at least $5,100. $5,125 for top 10. That's what I want. I want first, obviously, but I'll settle for top 10. Outside the top 100, that'll be whatever. Not the best, but whatever. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video. I'll drop the timestamps after I eat dinner. I got to go and have my breakfast dinner. I'll see you guys later, and I'll be updating these rankings throughout the week. That's going to be it for yours truly. So good luck this week. I'll be posting some videos as always, but I'll see you next time. Peace out. Good luck. Later. Bye-bye.